Observation number 5. Words can hurt a human's heart. I will remember that.
Welcome back. We are in the semifinals of the 2014 World Championship. There are two excellent matches that we had to choose from between Shunsuke Hiyama from Japan and Niccoló Mazzoleni, the local hero from Italy. And on the other end of the bracket is Oliver Tomajko versus Sahabi Carradine. That's the battle of the border, really. Canada versus the United States. Both players playing Infernity. So that's a bit of a wild card. Nobody really knows what's going to happen in that match. In the other match, we've got Bujins versus the Artifact Traptrix hand deck that we've been talking about all weekend. And here's who you'll be watching for this match.
Shunsuke Hiyama, Japan. Niccoló Mazzoleni, Italia.
So even though the USA contingent's hometown favorite Oliver Tomajko is playing, we're in Italy.
Yeah.
So we are going to show the Italian champion, Niccoló Mazzoleni. Now, we just saw Bujins last round take a commanding victory in a match that generally doesn't go in Bujins' favor as often. This time around, though, he's up against easily the last deck that we expected to see here after the limitation of Artifact Moraltalk, which is the hand Artifact Traptrix deck. He's only got the one Moraltalk, but joining the Moraltalk in his deck is 2 copies of Beagletalk, the one that destroys your own face-down cards, a copy of Caduceus, which is the orange one that lets you draw cards when your artifact is special summoned during your opponent's turn, and he's also running a copy of Fairnaught, the green bow, that will allow him to recycle his 1 copy of Moraltalk throughout the match. It's a very interesting choice.
Yeah.
I didn't think anybody would be brave enough to try artifact cards other than Moraltalk, especially at the World Championship, but Shunsuke Hiyama has done so, and he's made it all the way to the semifinals.
It's working really well for him. He's found the formula.
Yeah.
He's definitely found the formula.
Though it is worth noting that he just barely snuck into the top 8. At 3 wins, he was the last place player after the Swiss rounds and managed to take down the first place player, Sean McCabe of the United States, in the first round. So perhaps he's found something this time around. And the main thing he's going to need to not find is all of his artifacts in his starting hand.
Yeah.
The 5 artifacts in this deck, that's on the high end of the number of artifacts that you normally see in this particular engine. In the States and in Europe, the highest number of artifacts you'll see is 5, with 3 copies of Moraltalk and 2 copies of Beagletalk. Many players have slimmed it down to 4 with just 1 copy of Beagletalk. Many don't play Beagletalk at all.
Yeah.
And some run 2 copies of Artifact Moraltalk with 3 copies of Artifact Sanctum. Sanctum is the card you want to see. Lets you special summon artifacts from your deck during your opponent's turn to activate their effects. Niccoló Mazzoleni, on the other hand, is playing a very streamlined version of the Bujin deck. There are a lot of 3s on his deck list, 3s and 1s. Not a whole lot of 2s other than Bujingi Hair and Bujin Harume. Spell cards, he's running the full complement of Kaiser Coliseum, so you can tell right now that he wants to keep just 1 monster on the field most of the time, unless he's going to win the game with it.
Especially because it's going to shut down more than 1 artifact coming out there. And if Shunsuke plays his Traptrix monsters, then he's going to be blocking up his own.
Correct. And he's running 3 Myrmileo and 2 Dionaya, which is, that's what Corey McDuffie had for the WCQ in North America as well. And he made great use of Leveled Out Chain with those monsters to constantly put Dionayas up to the top of his deck, so he could have a string of free rank 4 Exceed summons that also take out a spell or trap with Myrmileo's effect. I don't think that a lot of that is going to get through against Niccoló. He's running a full complement of both Vanity's Emptiness and Fiendish Chain, along with Solemn Warning. He's only got 1 trap hole for the Traptrix to be immune to, and that's Bottomless.
Yeah.
And he's also got Torrential Tribute, which is frequently a problem for the hand deck, especially if you can engineer a situation where Torrential Tribute is Chainlink 2 or higher. A lot of the early game for the Traptrix hand deck involves hiding behind the hands, so that your opponent can't get to your life points and isn't willing to risk their own cards. But if you can get the hand off the field, it's a low monster count deck, and you can take advantage. And it looks like we are now ready to begin.
Of course, he isn't playing any hands in these.
Oh, is he not playing the hands?
No, there's no hands in.
Just trap tricks and artifacts?
It is at. It is not hat, it is at.
Just at.
It's at. Or tar. If
You know, I
being very
always get,
British.
whenever I think about this deck, I actually think hands first before the artifacts or
Yeah.
the trap tricks part. Because it's kind of the thing that nobody ever changes. But maybe that could be the change that was needed to make the deck competitive at this level.
Now, in Europeans, there was actually a lot of people that didn't play hands. They were trying some different engines. Bat was one of the best ones, or Fat, as people called it as well.
With the Fire Fist.
Yeah.
Shunsuke Hiyama wins the first turn and sets 2 cards face down. He's got an Artifact Sanctum, which is going to help him out by summoning that Warlock straight from his deck to destroy something. Pawn of Duality comes down first for Niccoló, revealing Torrential Tribute, Bujin Yamato, and Fire Formation Tenki. That's a bit of a difficult choice, depending on the rest of his hand. He only has 1 defensive card in the form of Fiendish Chain, but he does have a Tenki, so he can pass on the second Tenki in Yamato now and take the Torrential, and then search out the Yamato later. He goes straight for the Yamato, though.
He doesn't seem to be too afraid.
Nope, he doesn't feel a need for that much more extra defense at the moment.
Now, you'd think at this point, all of the players would know what all of the other players are playing. They've been in such a small room together, and they've all been playing together. So,
And we don't know their matchups from day one. They might have played earlier, even.
yeah. So it's odd that if Niccoló knew that he was playing against At, that he would take that.
I suppose if you are playing such a unique deck, there's nobody else in the tournament playing this, that word would kind of get around after a round or so that there's this guy who's running a bunch of the artifacts. Yamato hits the field and declares an attack. Artifact Sanctum is flipped. And he goes ahead and gets the Moral Talk.
Moral Tag hits the field early.
This is when you'd want the Mikazuchi.
Yeah.
Yamato is destroyed. No Mikazuchi, even if he did have it because of Pot of Duality. And in main phase 2, Mazzoleni contemplates what he wants to set face down, and probably if he wants to play the Tenki now rather than later. Not playing the Tenki now allows him to protect information, but it does run the risk of letting you draw the card you would have searched out anyways. And depending on how many different search cards you have in your deck, that could be fatal and leave you with a card you can't play down the line.
Yeah.
Happens a lot when you see the 1 reinforcement of the army in a deck with 1 or 2 warrior-type monsters. You'll get a situation where you draw both and then the reinforcement later. Artifact Moral Attack strikes directly for the first damage of the duel. And we'll probably be seeing another extra use out of it later on due to that call, Haunted.
Yeah.
Hiyama's picked up an artifact, though. It's Artifact Caduceus.
Which is one that isn't usually played.
Not usually, but it's the 3rd one in if you're going to play 3 artifacts. But Hiyama's playing 4. 2 more face-down cards join Moral Talk. One of them is likely the Caduceus,
Yep.
because he has multiple copies of Bigaltak in his deck. Second Pot of Duality for Mazzoleni, who reveals Bujin Harume, Bujingi Crane, and the Torrential Tribute once again.
Now, is he going to go for the Torrential Tribute? Because now he definitely knows that there's artifacts there.
And he's got a second, well, he's got access to a second copy of Yamato, so he may also pick the Crane for its double up. But then again, if he does that, Call of the Haunted is waiting to bring back Moral Talk.
There is also still a Bottomless Trap Hole that Shunsuke didn't activate when the first one was.
He didn't need to because he had the Sanctum there.
Yeah.
And if you're Mazzoleni, you might think in that case, oh, he used his Sanctum early. He doesn't have the bottomless trap hole.
He also still has another Sanctum as well.
Jingy Crane is the choice, added to Mazzoleni's hand. And we're getting a quick check on what exactly Jingy Crane does. So let's go ahead and bring it up for our viewers as well. So Bujingi Crane is one of the rare cards that can activate during damage calculation, works on either player's turn, and it only works in one of your Beast Warrior type Bujin's battles. That's the actual Bujin monsters in the 4 main deck ones, Yamato, Mikazuchi, Arasuda, and Harume. So it works with all of them, but it also works for the Xyz monsters, Susanoo, Kagusuchi. We don't see Tsukiyomi very much in Bujin decks, though it appears a lot in other decks. There are some interesting plays you can do with Noble Knights. If you summon Bujinte Tsukiyomi, you can send Guinevere to the graveyard, draw some extra cards. There's a lot of applications for it. It's just none of them seem to be in the Bujin deck.
No.
And there's Amaterasu, who is the 3 material Bujin, which you don't see a whole lot of, but she's really strong, able to act as a Leviar or a Monster Reborn as you need. Very useful card. But any of those, especially the Xyz monsters, doubled up during damage calculation, is going to come up with a number over 4,000, close to 5,000 at times. Back in our match, everything appears to be sorted out.
Tenki has been activated.
Tenki's activated. And he can't special summon this turn, so the Arasuda isn't really a play here. And now Mazzoleni takes a look and picks out another Yamato. Now he doesn't know about that bottomless trap hole. He likely thinks it isn't there because it wasn't used the first time around. This time it is, though. And whether or not Shunsuke realizes it right now, there's now 1 Bujin banished and 1 in the graveyard. Mazzoleni's problem is that they're both Bujin Yamato and they cannot coexist on the field.
Yeah. Although he does have a Mikasuchi in hand and an Arasuda.
Pair of Fiendish Chains, is that?
Yes, he has 2 Fiendish Chains.
And even though things aren't looking too good to start for Mazzoleni, he still has plenty of gas left. He's probably going to wrap it up for his turn. He has no further plays. And in the end phase, a second Artifact Sanctum is activated.
Now it looks like he's going for Cadeus.
Looks like he's got Galtok in hand to
Galtok.
destroy his said Caduceus. The only other option would be Failnaught, but there are no artifacts in the graveyard to bring back, so no real reason to get it right now. Galtok is activated. Mazzoleni allows it.
So what's this, the effect of this card?
And Caduceus activates in the graveyard. It is not a very commonly seen card, and Mazzoleni understandably wants to know what exactly its powers are. Much like all of the other artifacts, you can set it as a spell or trap, and it can be summoned if it's destroyed while in the graveyard. And during your opponent's turn, whenever a artifact monster is special summoned, draw 1 card. Now, like Hyper Librarian, you don't get to draw off this card itself. It has to be there for the entire time. But that is a lot of attack points on his side of the field. Even though the Galtak is the small Fury, unlike the big Fury, Moral Talk.
Now, he seems to have no fear from the 2 face-down cards that are there. I mean, if Niccoló really wanted to, his next move would be to try and stop as much damage coming in as he can, otherwise he's going to lose. I believe there's enough on the field to take him down to 0.
From 59 with 41, 16, and I think 14. 3,051. I think he would survive just a bit.
Just. But with all those level 5, I believe they all are,
Yep.
his
There is a large number
Shunsuke can easily make a rank 5
of rank
even
5
if-
monsters. But luckily for Mazzoleni, Gaga Cowboy is not rank 5.
No. Although he's looking into it now.
All of the rank 5 monsters are powerful. And what Mazzoleni has to watch out for is that he really does need to get rid of all of those artifacts so that Volcasaurus can't be played to deal that last bit of damage.
Now, it looks like he's thinking about the artifact Xyz monster,
Ah, Durandal.
which is a fantastic card that's going to stop all of the spell and trap cards, so that's going to stop him because it changes their effect to destroy a spell or trap card.
I think it's destroy. Is it destroy a spell and trap card or destroy a spell trap card your opponent controls?
I'm not quite sure on that one. If he
Yes.
plays it, I will be able to
In
bring that
that
up
case, Hiyama would have to sacrifice his own cards to activate that ability.
for you. Yeah.
He does have Call of the Haunted, which could be used as well.
That's in his hand. Call of the Haunted and Double Cyclone.
I don't know that I would mind sacrificing Double Cyclone.
Or Call of the Haunted. To be able to have that last bit of attack on the field.
Last bit to stop everything.
So I do believe Durandal is actually quite a large monster as well.
It is 2,500.
Yeah. And, ooh, he's thinking about it.
The question is, which materials do you use? And if you're going for the artifact monster, it's probably going to be... Well, Moraltok needs to be one of them so he can detach it for his Call of the Haunted.
Now, which card is he going for? I can't quite tell what that card is that he's looking at there.
He's looking at Consular Pleiades.
Which is a good play.
Absolutely brutal card. But he's left the Moraltok on the field. He will detach one material to try to send a Phoenix Chain back to the hand. But the chain is chained, and Consular Pleiades is locked down. Now he could also upgrade it to Consular Ptolemy M7 at this point to free it from the Fiendish Chain. And it makes me wonder why the chain was used here when he could just take it back to his hand and then set it again with another chain still live.
That is true.
He upgrades instead to Gaia Dragon the Thunder Charger.
Wow.
Useful card when your opponent's on low life points, as its piercing damage effect can prevent defense from working out.
Now, there is a second Phoenix chained on the field as well.
There is. We could see a case where Double Cyclone is chained to it.
Yeah.
Mazzoleni is fortunate, though, that Pleiades isn't going to be sticking around. Special summons are active once again, but Mazzoleni doesn't have any Yamatos available. He does have the Mikazuchi and Arasuda, but without Harume, there's no way to banish a Bujin from the graveyard and start off the combos. Quick check to the graveyard reveals a bunch of traps and Caduceus, bottomless trap hole, and 2 Sanctums. That's not a lot of information to go on.
He's kind of sitting behind the Phoenix chain. I'm wondering whether he's thinking about his crane and thinking, I could attack.
Mikazuchi is summoned.
And I do believe he's got 2,000 attack as well.
2,000 due to Tenki, yes.
Yes.
Crane will only double it to 38, though. It does not get the boost back until it ends.
It looks like he's going to wait to attack first.
This is smart. If you go ahead and use your own pump on your own turn, you lose the ability to interact with your opponent during their turn. Mizushi at 2,000 attack, still not enough to hold up against Moraltok. And with the threat of Call of the Haunted on the field for a second rank 5 monster, it could just be that he's going to call back the Caduceus, because he summoned Volcasaurus, and then use double Cyclone to get past the Fiendish Chain.
And that would be game.
That would do it, and Mazzoleni would really be regretting flipping the Fiendish Chain on Pleiades. That's one of those ones that you think about. If the Pleiades goes through, has one material left on Mazzoleni's turn, and you reset that card,
Yeah.
now I guess with the double Cyclone it really wouldn't have mattered anyways. That's something to think about. This is the kind of thing that high-level players stay up at night thinking about.
Just before the event, yeah.
Just before the, just after the event too.
Even, yeah.
Those are the kind of things that you really wonder about, especially when you're this far into the event, and you wonder if maybe you could have done something different.
Months and months of playtesting's come up to this, and just to find something that you didn't think about.
Live in the moment, though.
Hard feeling.
Live for this moment, not the next one, not the previous one.
No.
That's the way to go.
Definitely.
And that's what Mazzolini's going to need to do if he's to carry on in this duel and the next.
Now,
Rank 5 toolbox is pretty extensive. Also useful here, well, another Pleiades if he's got it. Tyrus, not as good against the Bujin deck, but we see quite a lot of it. Oh, and play has resumed. We've got double Cyclone on the face down. It's Fiendish Chain. Call of the Haunted brings back Caduceus.
and I think that's it.
He should be Xyz summoning.
Ragnar Zero. No, I can't do Ragnar Zero. It's a rank
Not
5.
with 5. He's got the second Pleiades is what he's
Wow.
looking at. Not going for the direct damage from
Interesting.
Volcasaurus.
Yeah,
Maybe he just didn't want to show that he had it.
it's true.
It's a lot. You might know what your opponent's main deck is, but their extra deck is often a mystery. How many copies of Pleiades do you run? Are you running Volcasaurus? Is Tyrus in there? Is Adrius in there?
Yeah.
Probably not Adrius. Volcasaurus does a lot of that himself. But regardless, Shunsuke Hiyama takes a very dominating win in the first game.
Straight away. I expected Bujin to fare a bit better.
Well, I think Mazzolini's problem is that he had to go second against a pair of Artifact Sanctums.
Yeah. That is a
Losing
problem.
both Yamatos back-to-back to Sanctum and Bottomless Trap Hole really put him so far behind that even Bujin Carnation couldn't save him because he had double Yamato.
That's an interesting side out. It's just sided out of Mamelio by the look of it.
Just one copy or multiple?
Yeah, just the one.
That makes sense to me because he knows that the Bujin player is going to go first.
Yeah.
And Myrmilio is at her best when you get the first turn. So a common, no, I don't know that it's a common side, but when I run 3 Myrmilios and 2 Dianaias, one of my common side deck maneuvers is to take out one copy of each Traptrix monster when I think I'm going to go second. That way I can get more cards in that can answer my opponent's threats as they put them out on the first turn, and fewer that have to be preemptive. Counting out the side decks once again, we've got 15, and you can see a copy of Star Drawing there
Yeah.
on top of Shunsuke's deck. That would also be a card that you can easily side out to put something else in there, but it's really a fun card, being able to see summon as either a level 4 or level 5, and drawing a card while you're at it. Very underrated card from Cosmo Blazer, which had a lot of star-related things.
You did.
The fire formations themselves are constellation-based, based on the Big Dipper. So you have 7 regular ones and the ultimate fire formation that needs 7 fire formations to play,
Yeah.
so that you can flood the field with monsters and presumably the fire formations you haven't played yet. A lot of dedication required to pull that off, but it's another thing that I recommend trying if you've never done it. It's extremely satisfying. Speaking of Fire Fists, that's actually not present in Mazzoleni's deck. We saw it in the first round with Kim Chan-ho. He was running Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Bear.
Yeah.
Since he's already got the tankies. But Niccoló Mazzoleni, not so much.
No, it looked. Did the last Virgin player we had, was he running Arasuda?
I believe he was running one copy
I don't
of
remember that, saying
Arasuda.
that then.
I don't remember offhand. Don't have the list on hand either. I really like the Bear, though. If you even think for even a second that you might run into a Geargia player anywhere, you gotta have a Bear in your deck.
Honestly, any deck of Bear is good against.
Yeah, anything that sets.
Yeah.
Is Geargia especially, though, because that's part of what kept Geargia down for so long, was that the Fire Fist deck was so good. Between all the soul charges to get back the Bear, and all the Wolf Barks for more XC summons, to get more tankies, to get more Bears. Hard to play a defensive game against the Fire Fist deck because it just kept coming at you with everything it had. And then the soul charge, it had it all again. Extra normal summons with Tensu, extra searches with Tanky. Some people even using Dragon to get the trap cards out of their deck for extra attack points.
Wow.
And extra copies of Forbidden Lance on top of the ones you were already playing. Looks like our players are just about ready to go. Quick check to make sure all our extra deck cards are in the right place.
I can't see much that Niccoló would be siding against this.
Yeah, I don't really... I mean, you can play your removal cards, your Mystical Space Typhoons, etc., during your opponent's turn to stop the artifacts from doing their thing.
Yeah.
You have
Needle Sealing,
Needle Sealing.
which is nice against artifacts, especially when, well, we saw there that he had 4 artifacts
Yeah,
on the
once
field.
all the artifacts come out at once, a Needle Sealing can stop them before they exceed summoning. They're really powerful rank 5 monsters.
Yeah.
But most of what Niccoló has in his side deck is a lot of removal. Needle Sealing for monsters, Dimensional Prison for monsters, Dust Tornado, Mystical Space Typhoon for spells and traps. He's got a bunch of Maxis.
And Maxi may be a good option.
Could be a good option. The problem with the artifacts themselves and using Maxi against them and using Maxi against the one-card rank 4 Xyz summon tricks like Daonaya is that they can just stop. The
Yeah.
best thing about the Trap Tricks engine is that those 2 cards have 2 effects each. One when they're normal summoned, one when they're special summoned. So even if you max C when they're using Daonaya to bring back Myrmidon, you're getting a card back in your hand, and you might stop them from Xyz summoning further, but you're still losing a trap. It's kind of a no-win situation in
Yeah.
that case. You'd really just rather have effect failure. And in fact,
He's
Niccoló
running
does.
3 copies
He's
of
running
it.
3 of them.
He
They're
is
in his main deck. and
ready.
They're staying.
He's going to veil those effects. I'm not
If
quite
he's
sure
fortunate
what
enough.
that actually means, I'll be honest with you.
Just kind of put a cloth
over the
the
effect.
card text.
Yeah.
No one can read it, so it's
So
negated.
it's a normal monster.
Yep.
That's how that works.
Pretty sure that's how it works.
I'm guessing if you got like a yellow filter over the top of it, then it would be a normal monster.
We've
Anyway,
begun.
what a duality.
Niccoló Mazzoleni up first again with Bujin Carnation MST, which has been sided in. And looks like Arasuda
He
off
also-
of the Pot of Duality.
He also has an MST in hand as well. Mystical Space Typhoon.
Takes Bujin Carnation. He's got Quillin, Mikizuchi, Hirume, all in his hand. That's a good start. It's going to be easy for him to get a Bujin banished from the graveyard.
Now Shunsuke has a okay hand.
Debunk Mind Control, Caduceus, Beagle Talk, Torrential Tribute. I don't know that I'd classify that as okay. You've got 2 artifacts in it, no way to get them out of your spell and trap card zones. You only have 1 Begaltak left in your deck.
Yeah.
But if you drew the Sanctum next, suddenly this hand could become extremely explosive.
And because he's going second, that's a very big possibility.
It's just that none of his cards are actually playable on his first turn. He can set the Debunk and Torrential Tribute, but there's no action at all. Luckily for him, Niccoló does not have the Yamato.
He
So
could.
he's safe for the moment.
He could always mind control and then tribute it.
He cannot tribute it.
Oh yeah, no, mind control says you can't tribute.
He could mind control if he had a level 4 and Xyz summon.
Yeah.
That would work. But he draws in a card D, which, while he's going to eat some damage next turn, is extraordinarily helpful in getting him closer to his Sanctums.
And he drew a card trooper and a bottomless trap hole.
Not bad. And at the end of the turn, we see the Mystical Space Typhoon being used and knocking out Debunk.
And not hitting the artifact.
Torrential Tribute's still there, though.
And it depends whether Niccoló is going to be greedy or not.
I think in this case, you got to attack first. Try to
Definitely.
probe the waters, see what's there.
No.
He goes with the Quillen instead. And I can see why you would do this. If there is a Torrential, he can then banish a monster for the Hirume that's in hand.
There's the torrential.
I kind of like attacking first, but there is a lot of value in this play. With the Bujin Carnation live, he can afford to be a little bit more reckless. Well, I say live, his opponent doesn't have any monsters yet. And now he's deciding, how much more do I want to risk on this turn?
Card Trooper is actually one of the ways that Shunsuke's been winning.
Really?
Yeah, he's just been playing multiple copies of Card Trooper and then attacking.
It is, in fact, I mean, it's one of the best monsters ever printed. I
Yeah.
don't think it can ever come to a full 3 per deck. But every deck the Card Trooper has ever been in has been good.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's just because Card Trooper is such a house.
And one of the
Build
new
everything around it.
one of the new Xyz monsters pretty much has the same effect.
Yes, that's actually what it's modeled after. Dante, Traveler of the Burning Abyss. Traveler of the Burning Abyss. He's modeled after, he's a little bit Goblin Attack Force, or rather a little bit Spear Dragon since he can switch back, and a little bit Card Trooper. And
Yeah.
that plays in very well with the Burning Abyss theme and needing to send those cards to the graveyard. Especially when Card Trooper isn't going to play nice with them.
I really like that card, Dante, because it's got a large defense that it switches to after it's attacked.
A lot of people are thinking about picking up and playing it in their own deck, even if it's not Burning Abyss.
Yeah.
And Mazzoleni is going for it with Bujin Hirume, banishing the Mikazuchi. Direct attack is successful.
Now, something I mentioned at Europeans and Matt said he knew nothing about was the fact that all of the Bujin monsters look like the characters from the GX anime.
Do they?
Yes.
That I never noticed.
Yamato has Jaden's hair. Mikazuchi looks like, he looks like Chaz. And yeah, so all of the Bujin cards look like
GX. See, I was looking more into the mythology angle of it. I didn't really know about the whole GX thing.
Yeah.
I guess there's a GX fan over there drawing the art for these.
They all look like the main characters.
Speaking of the main Bujins, one of the most popular game mats that we released in the last year was that Bujin game mat.
Yes, I saw that at the
People,
UK
the
Nationals.
colors are so beautiful
Oh, it was
on that
amazing.
mat, and a lot of people just adore it.
I remember a lot of people criticized it when they saw it online, but as
Really?
soon as they saw it in person, they were like,
Yeah.
this mat is
I
amazing.
don't think that's the case for a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh stuff, like Ghost Rares in
Yeah.
general. Some of the playmats, just a photo of them doesn't do it justice.
No. Especially things like shatter foils and things like that.
Yeah.
Nobody really gets it until you see it in your hand.
Shinsuke is up, and he sets a monster
He
and
just set
attempts
a
to take it back, which is not allowed. 2 cards join it,
So he has set the Card Trooper.
and Card Trooper is always great as a wall. I mean, you still get a draw off it, even if it's destroyed all face down.
And I do believe the reason why he was picking it back up was just in case he wanted to play the Dark Hole that was in his hand.
He would have to give up another card from his hand, though, due to the Hirume effect.
Yes.
That's no face-up cards. So with Quillen, not useful at the moment. And Niccoló Mazzoleni is deep in thought, down a game, but in the lead in this one. Hirume attacks, Card Trooper goes to the graveyard, and Shunsuke gets another draw.
Which is a solemn warning.
going to be very handy if that Bujin Carnation ever comes to call.
What a duality.
For a second Bujin Carnation, a second Crane, and Arasuda. Doubles
Wow.
of the cards in his hand and Arasuda.
And
And he takes the double Bujin Carnation. Let's go ahead and bring up Bujin Carnation for the viewers right now.
Sure.
There it is. So one of the great things about Bujin Carnation is that it's not limited to once per turn like so many cards are, like Soul Charge, etc. So he's got 2 Bujin Carnations and he can play them both. And the fact that Hiyama just picked up Solemn Warning, that means he knows that he might just be paying 2,000 life points just to get Bujin Carnated again.
Yeah. And there's the Artifact Sanctum.
Finally picks up an Artifact Sanctum, and that could break the game wide open for him with those 2 artifacts set face down. Well, we know one thing he's going to do this turn. It's set Artifact Sanctum.
Yeah.
And he's thumbing through his hand looking at that dark hole as if he wants to play it now. It's a big decision, and he checks the life points first. Sets 2 cards face down and ends his turn.
And that would be Solemn Warning and Artifact Sanctum that he's just added to a massive back row.
Niccoló's picked up Dimensional Prison, another card he sided in.
See, I definitely would not want to come up against 5 back row, especially when my opponent's playing Artifact.
Agreed. That's where you have to wonder if you're going to get blown out by Malevolent Catastrophe.
Oh, and there's the Sanctum.
Sanctum to block the attack. There's only 2 artifacts left in deck, and I think we all know which one's coming next.
I actually believe he took the attack.
He took the, oh, he took the attack?
yeah.
Oh, so he did. Effective Vigaltok. Takes out Vigaltok and Caduceus.
Set up the chain links,
They are special summoned.
and he gets to draw a card.
And Caduceus was face up. It was Chain Link 2. And
That's
so
a
he draws
Dynea.
1 card off Vigaltok.
Dynea enters his hand.
Dynea without Myrmileo, not particularly useful. But at this point, it's another body.
Now remind me of the Artifact Exceeds Monsters effect again.
It has 2 effects.
Yes.
One lets it swap the effect of something to destroy a spell or trap.
Now, is that just spell or trap cards, or does it also affect monsters?
I believe it can be used against anything, but it only targets, or it only switches the destruction to spell and trap cards.
Okay.
And the other effect allows you to disrupt both hands, shuffle them back into the deck, and then draw the same number of cards.
Okay.
That's really useful when you're an artifact player, because if you've got a handful of artifacts you can't use, but you were able to go ahead and pull off your Vigaltok play there, you can shuffle in the extra artifacts that you can't use and maybe get some Sanctums back in return.
Yeah.
On the other hand, for Mazzoleni, he would be very unhappy to lose both of his Bujin Carnations.
And now,
Second effect of Durendal.
luckily, there is a Solemn Warning and a Bottomless Trap Hole on Shunsuke's side of the field now, so he can stop both of
Yeah,
them.
you can't stop both.
So it's looking very, very much in Shunsuke's favor at the moment.
I did forget about the Bottomless Trap Hole.
As much as you forgot about it, I only just noticed it.
It's a good card. Normally, you see Bottomless Trap Hole every game in this matchup because they're searching it out straight away with Myrmileo.
Yeah.
But in this match, Myrmileo has been completely absent, and
Yeah.
we've still seen Bottomless Trap Hole immediately.
Although I do believe he was running 3 Myrmileo, but he took 1 out, so
did
it's
take
going to
one
be... It will be not as often that you'd see it.
Summons the Dynaya anyways. It's a body, and he does have the mind control.
And that's attacking almost for game, I do believe.
Mind control takes Furume, can't tribute it,
And he's
attack
got
with it.
Well, he's got the Dioneer there right there to
He's got
Xyz.
a giant pile of rank 4 Xyz monsters in his extra deck. First, he's going to attack.
Interesting that he attacks before he XC summons there. He could have got some extra damage out.
He could.
That's just a barrage.
And with that, Mazzoleni's reduced to 3,200. And he's going to lose his Hirume.
What's it going to turn into?
For Rhapsody and Berserk to go ahead and banish that Quillin so he doesn't even need to... Oh, and the Hirume. So
Wow.
there's no need to even bother with his Bottomless Trap Hole or Solemn Warning because Bujin Carnation's right out. And then we see Artifact Durendal finally hitting the field and being equipped with Rhapsody in Berserk, bringing it up to 3,700 attack points.
Ridiculous. Wow.
So Solemn Warning, Bottomless Trap Hole, Durendal. There is not a whole lot that Niccoló can do. So it's actually very particular. You can switch monster effect with Durendal, but it has to be a monster effect activated on the field
Yes, rather than in the hand.
rather than in the
So he has the Crane, and he has a Mikazuchi in hand now. So he could just attack, but as soon as he summons it, it's going to be Bottomless Trap Hole.
Yeah, it is
or
going to be
something.
Bottomless Trap Hold.
This
Not going to
is-
bother with the warning because of the two Bujin Carnations.
But if he was to do that, if he was to Bottomless Trap Hole, there'd be no Bujin in the graveyard for
Correct.
Reincarnation.
That's why they're not even going to bother with the warning. In general, you just want to play as few of your cards as you possibly can in any given scenario.
And here's the text.
Durendal not seen very frequently. Most of the time, Pleiades is the monster summon.
It's so surprising because it's such a good card for artifacts.
It is.
It just wipes out your own back row, which is what you want to do in your opponent's turn, and it's going to stop them from playing anything. I mean, you have to be very, very smart on what you play. You've got two spell or trap cards or effect monsters that are going to turn into summon my opponent's artifact.
Wasn't special summon. Well, he couldn't draw an extra card, though. Wasn't special summon during the opponent's turn.
Yeah.
There is, however, an artifact card that lets you do that. One of the spells, I think,
Yeah.
is a quick play that lets you see summon during your opponent's turn.
Wow.
It's also, speaking of spells, we haven't seen it at all in this match, but he's running the full complement of Artifact Ignition,
Yeah.
which really helps.
It's not even coming to hand, although this looks like... Ooh, he's just deciding. How many cards in
Mizuchi,
hand?
normal summoned. Bottomless
Trap
Trap Hole as expected.
Hole. Oh, and Niccoló has
He is
realized he's
visibly
lost.
displeased.
He is angry. For such a happy guy, this is out of character.
It's really hard to expect your opponent to have that one limited card at the beginning of both games
And that's it.
without the aid of Myrmilio.
At this point, the only thing he can really do, well, he's going to set...
Yeah, he's going to set 3. His opponent knows 2
But
are
he
Bujin
knows.
Carnations. And he knows that the Dimensional Prison is going to be turned into Spell and Trap Disruption.
And the turn's going to start, and he's going to attack, and that's going to be it. Oh, there's the artifact ignition. Poke.
He attacks, plays it out with Dimensional Prison. And he could try to save himself some damage, but 25 is still more than 1,900.
And that's it.
And the match is over. Shunsuke
Shunsuke.
Hiyama takes a 2-0 win over Niccoló, who couldn't get to his Yamato in the second game to take advantage of Shunsuke's very slow start.
And he's playing artifact.
He is playing artifacts.
I don't... Wow.
I mean, the World Championship history is filled with a lot of stories of this, of people who barely qualified, who made it to the World Championship as alternates, who then didn't even make it into the top 8 except as the 8th spot and still went on to win. That's the story of the World Championship, pretty much. Gali Diorbia, the Frog Mass Driver deck.
Yeah.
He actually didn't even win his World Championship qualifier. Just the way things worked out is that the people ahead of him, none of them could go to the World Championship. So he got his shot, and he made the most of it and won the whole thing.
Wow.
And that's why this is the
looks like-
craziest tournament
It
of
looks
the
like
year.
it's what's happening now.
And we're getting slightly attacked by mosquitoes here.
yeah.
You're not allowed to spray that stuff on your face. It tells you not to do it on the can.
Does it?
Yes.
Oh. Okay.
Well, if Rob is gone for the rest of the day, then I think we know what happened. Brother was carted off in an ambulance. I really hope that doesn't happen, though. I need you here.
Yeah.
You're here for the rest of this. So, we have Shunsuke Hiyama of Japan moving on to the finals. We don't have any results yet from the rest of the matches, but I'm sure Jarrell and his incredible earpiece will be able to get you all that
Most
information
definitely.
at some point as the results come in.
Jarrell's earpiece that totally exists.
It definitely exists.
It definitely
I believe
exists.
in Jarrell.
I believe in
absolutely
Jarrell's
do.
earpiece, and because of that, it's like a fairy. If you just start clapping, it's fine. It's fine. As long as you say you believe in it, it's okay. It'll stay there.
As far as a post-mortem on this one, this is really the last match that I expected to see.
Yeah.
Other than the Mermails versus anything yesterday,
Yeah.
my second, I had this list of things that we're definitely not going to see, and it was Mermails versus anything and Artifacts versus anything, and I was wrong on both counts. Right about Infernity, though.
Yeah.
So at least 1 point in my favor for the weekend.
And I was right about Madolce.
Yeah. A lot more representation from it. You know, it gets a bad rap with a lot of competitive players.
Really?
Yes, because they don't like the Madolce monsters themselves. But you know what? That's not going to stop them from playing the Shadal monsters, even though a lot of players aren't so sold on flip effects. We haven't
Yeah.
really seen flip effects for a very long time.
No, but if I remember correctly, there's a very old card that just negates all flip effects.
Negates all the flip effects, yeah, Royal Command. Last time I think we saw flip effects was Gravekeeper Spy. Gravekeeper Spy is one of those cards that's just been around forever.
Yeah.
It started off before people even built Gravekeeper decks, back in the days when Monarchs were king. And Blackluster Soldier Envoy at the beginning was roaming around along with all those extremely powerful spell cards.
Yeah.
And it's actually been a mainstay ever since. If you need monsters, you've got Gravekeeper Spy. In the Synchro Summon Rescue Cat deck from a few years back, it was 2009, I think? 2008. It was before Infernity. That deck relied very much on using Rescue Cat to get 2 copies of X-Saber Airbellum, level 3 Beast Tuner, and flipping Gravekeeper Spy to get 2 level 4 spellcasters. And with those combined, you could make multiple copies of Dark Strike Fighter, attack directly with both, and then tribute them both off in your second main phase to deal game-ending damage.
Yeah.
And then Dark Strike Fighter went away, and that didn't happen anymore. And Rescue Cat went away, and he didn't happen anymore either.
Something that I'd really like to see at the World Championships, and it looks like it's happened here. You've got a problem with law of averages. Like, you don't see some decks just because people don't play them. Like, for example, Dark World.
Yes.
Dark World is still a fantastic deck. It's got Grapha just as a massive destruction engine. I've seen it beat Artifact. I've seen it beat everything. I've seen Gravekeepers completely and totally destroy everything. The UK Challenge the Master plays Gravekeepers when he doesn't want anybody to have anything.
You know, when I was working for this event, one of the things we definitely considered was Gravekeepers with the Imperial Tombs of Necro Valley,
Yeah.
that trap card, and they also have their own special summon blocker that stops everything except Gravekeeper special summons. And you even have the, not the Priestess, the Shaman,
Yeah.
the level 6 monster that you can pull out of your deck with Gravekeeper Spy that can protect your setup. There are a lot of things that you can do with Gravekeepers and infinite copies of Necro Valley to work with as well.
Of course, when you've got Necro Valley, and I think it's the Shaman that also does the make sure that you can't actually activate any effects in the graveyard as well.
Yeah, I think it does that. You know, I don't remember everything she does. She's got a big block of text on there.
But
And-
it's literally when you have Necro Valley and that on the field, that's it. You can't do anything with the graveyard anymore.
Oh,
And there's so many effects that activate in there now.
oh yeah.
So it's such a nice competitive deck that nobody plays.
But Necro Valley's still making its impact felt
Yeah.
on this tournament in side decks, which is pretty amazing just to stop the banishing of cards like Stygian Street Patrol and a lot of the Bujin cards.
Yeah.
Didn't get a whole lot of Bujin cards into the graveyard in this one. Yamato, his time on the field was very brief, and so is our time here because it's time to head back to our analysts.
Fantastic. Thank you again, Rob and Jerome. So we are getting closer and closer to crowning this year's World Championship, or World Champions in this division. But right now, I'm going to throw it to my analysts and have them talk about that last match.
Hey, thank you. So, great match there. A deck that we were not really expecting with the limitations on Artifact Morale Tech actually going into the finals of the World Championships here in Rimini. Should we go straight into the highlights and start talking about that?
Yes.
Yeah,
Highlight one.
Take a look at highlight one.
So this is where the Sanctum activated and quickly searched out Marotech.
I would have not been expecting that at the start of the tournament. At this stage, there's a very good chance Niccoló's seen this happening or heard about it or something, but coming into this tournament, I wouldn't have been prepared for a Sanctum into the 1 morale attack. With a lot of the other artifact monsters being considered not as great.
Yeah, Niccoló main decking triple effect Veiler and doesn't help when your opponent's deadly effects are going off on your turn. That does nothing for him. He needs a breakthrough skill and a turn in which to set it because that was his first turn. So there was no answer there.
Just caught him out completely there.
Yeah.
Can we go into highlight 2?
When Niccoló used Tenki.
Yeah.
Highlight 2.
Lots of card shuffling, as you see very many players doing.
Niccoló very, very fidgety for this entire match, and it gets worse as game 1 gets worse. You can watch his body language go downhill.
Because he's now facing down a card that none of his monsters actually beat on their own in battle. And he lost his first Yamato, meaning he's not got any setup here. So he's going for Yamato number 2.
And he's trying to play it into 3 back rows, which worked really well for him last match. Not so well here.
Yeah, here it just gets Yamato number 2 answered. And a Bujin deck desperately wants to see a turn 1 Yamato, but to have access to 2 and then have both of them swept away from you, that's a really rough place to be starting the match. And he still has to deal with that morale attack, which has 2,100 attack points.
That's indeed
charging
true.
at him. Not an easy match. Do you guys have any thoughts on what we've seen so far?
I'd actually like to throw to highlight 3 if we could, because this is where we actually start seeing Shunsuke Hiyama's deck. This is what he's doing. This is how he's winning this tournament. He's got this set up. Artifact Beagle-Talk is the center of his strategy, really. You're going to see it become the beginning of his win conditions and his win scenarios in both Game 1 and Game 2. Here he Beagle-Talks straight into the Caduceus off the second Sanctum. He's not going to get the... I believe he doesn't get the Caduceus draw here, but he gets 3 monsters on the field at level 5. And that's what he's doing for this strategy. He's creating these Beagle-Talk setups that allow him to unleash level 5s for rank 5 plays, and nobody's able to deal with it.
Constellar Pleiades is a very powerful card in almost any circumstance because of its quick effect.
And if we throw to highlight 4, that's exactly what we see.
Yeah.
Hiyama overlaying for the Pleiades.
Yeah.
Attempts to use its effect. And Niccoló actually chains it down. This was something that Jerome and Rob were talking about as to whether or not maybe letting that go through would have been the better play.
He has a second chain down, doesn't he?
He does. And overall, I think their conclusion was our conclusion as well, which is that the double Cyclone made it irrelevant overall as to whether or not he decided to attempt a chain. But yeah. So you see that Pleiades play upon which Hiyama's wins are based. We can throw to clip 6.
Yep. Okay, so Niccoló's managed to get a bit of a board presence back here, despite starting off really rough, and runs into a Torrential. Wow. With no hairs in sight.
Niccoló was in a very good position because as long as that Torrential tribute resolved, the Bujin Incarnation was very live for the time being. Until those Bujin cards got removed from the graveyard later on in the game. And if we just touch on briefly the highlight 8 and 9, we can see that. So highlight 8 is when a mind control happened,
That is a very big field there.
and that field instantly calls for number 80 Rhapsody.
This was in game 2. This was the second Beagle-Talk play of the. This was immediately after the second Beagle-Talk play of the match, which was a Beagle-Talk into another Beagle-Talk and a Caduceus. So here, Hiyama got the draw effect, got 2 more bodies on board, and then had the mind control to take Bujin Hirame. And then throwing to the next clip, you see the overlay for number 80 Rhapsody and Berserk. Now, by banishing Quillen and the Hirame from the graveyard, Hiyama's keeping Niccoló off of the Bujin Carnation that he doesn't necessarily know Niccoló has, but as you can see from his tilted hand, he has that Bujin Carnation, and now he has nothing to bring back with it.
And a gigantic
artifact Durandal.
Sorry,
right in his face.
As soon as I started saying it, the name escaped me, and I was like, that card, it looks like a sword.
You know, he's got a big sword thing waving right at him.
Does stuff, it shuffles hands away. You know, that card.
Hits people really hard.
In the face.
Apparently Italians. And then throw to clip 10.
Yeah.
And you're going to see Hiyama continuing with the strategy. Doesn't just get rid of the Bujin Mikazuchi, like doesn't just destroy it, but has the bottomless for it. So again, keeping Niccoló off of that Bujin Carnation for this entire second duel.
And you can see his frustration there as soon as that happens.
You see the way his fingers hit that card.
It's like,
that,
come on.
Resounding thud.
He really wanted to use the Bujin Carnation.
It was his way back into that game.
Yeah.
I actually missed game 2 because I got a call away from the desk, but do you guys remember what the other face-down cards were if he didn't have Bottomless Trap Hole?
I don't think we actually saw them.
Oh, we didn't see them?
Yeah.
No, okay. So, well, any one of those could have been an answer to the Bujin Carnation, for all we know. But, yeah, Niccoló visibly displeased by just how controlling, how much he was being controlled there.
Well, I mean, his draws weren't good for the entire match, and Hiyama was keeping him tied down on just every single possibility he had. And we can throw to clip 11 where we can see the end of the match.
Listed as GG on the form?
Yes. Niccoló has a prison for the Durandal.
Durandal's effect.
Doesn't matter. Pings an irrelevant Solemn Warning.
Yeah.
And Durandal hits for game.
Knocking out the last European player from contention in this tournament. Well, for the all-age bracket at least. Yep. I don't know what the results is for the Dragon Duel yet. But what are your thoughts on the match?
You said the Dragon Duel?
No. I said I don't know what's going on in the Dragon Duel
There
yet.
might still be a European player in the Dragon Duel.
But there's no European players left in the all-age bracket.
And I feel like the real question here is, like, has Japan's Shunsuke Hiyama broken this tournament with this deck? Like, nobody saw this coming, right? Like, none of us were thinking we were going to see Traptrix Artifacts. It was the only Traptrix Artifact deck in the field, and nobody's ready for this.
Well, he's done very well to get through in all the Infernities and Gearga decks.
Yeah.
Well, in North America, we saw 4 hat decks making it through to the top 4 to get here. Unlike in Europe, where watching the hat deck get smashed over and over was my main experience with it. And now we're watching it in Worlds, making it into the final. But he's not playing Fire and Ice Hand.
Yeah, he's more at than hat.
Yeah, he's gone really deep into the artifact options.
He's playing double card D? Call it a cat deck?
Yeah, that's not a cat. I've been trying to get a cat. We've had bat, and this is cat. Yeah.
Fun fact from Jerome McHale, like an hour ago, was mentioning my run with a Rescue Cat, Gyakugure Panda, and Ojama deck. He actually forgot the deck's name or decided to let me mention it. The Cat's Pajamas. Yeah. Anyway, back to things that matter. Shunsuke Hiyama is going to be up against Sahabi Carradine, who just defeated Oliver Tomeko minutes ago. So he's going to be facing another Infernity matchup. I'm not exactly certain of his record in this tournament against that deck. I assume he's played it, and I assume he probably beat it. So this is definitely this is the number 1 matchup in the number 1 strategy coming into this tournament, going up against this rogue deck that will undoubtedly be ready for the Infernity matchup.
I have to apologize to Jarrell. It looks like Jason was the camp that we should have been sitting in for this future prediction stuff.
Well, they've been telling me that on my earpiece, but he has the information
Hearing
from
the
somewhere
information,
else.
just knowing the information.
Wait, hold on.
Not this again.
Wait, this Justin Clayton Hill just was defeated.
Clayton Hill was knocked out as well.
Really?
So who's playing the finals for the Dragon Duel? Do we have that information?
No, it's gonna come to me through the Ring of Power.
The ring only communicates about Clayton Hill right now.
Yes. But unfortunately, Jason, do you think that Sahabi has a very, very good chance? Do you think that he prepared for the artifact matchup?
He absolutely did not. I mean, no one prepared for this matchup. So it's going to come down to who wins the die roll, what everybody's draws look like, and can Sahabi Carradine figure out some way to overcome this new challenge? I mean, this could be academic for Japan's Shunsuke Hiyama.
Yeah, he would have definitely prepared for the Infernity matchup.
Yeah.
And artifacts, I feel like they can go second against Infernities. After Infernity does their stuff, set some artifact monsters to Sanctum, and then start reacting to in the opponent's turn.
He's got a ton of trap cards. He's going to have a huge back row that Carradine's going to have to fight through. It's going to be an uphill battle, unless it becomes a massive blowout. But
what I was gonna say was he main decks a lot of cards that will work in his favor. Manila Event Catastrophe, Trap Tricks, Trap Hole, you know, the Bottomless Trap Hole, the 3 Quarter Haunters with the 3 Sanctums. Like,
yeah.
We can only imagine a strong uphill battle.
So much disruption there for, sorry, was it, Shinsuke. So much disruption to go against these combo decks, which is what the Hat deck was so good at, was at least what we saw every time a combo tried to be strung together, just the Artifact Sanctum sweeping out these 2-card combos. The disruption might even be... I'm pretty confident, actually, that that's going to be better than maybe the Infernity start.
Was there any Upstart Goblin in Hiyama's deck?
Upstart Goblin?
Yeah.
No.
And he's playing 40 cards, right? Ob?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So he's got like a 33.8% chance of opening with Sanctum. I feel if he doesn't open with Sanctum, we have a game, right?
But
if
he has
opens with
three-sided
Sanctum,
dualities
Sahabi's in
and-
trouble.
Yeah.
Because if you have Call of the Haunteds and they're not actually doing anything,
Well,
or we have to artifact ignition into them to like get cards in the graveyard to use them with, like that could be an unfortunate scenario.
What I'm more worried about for the Sahabi matchup right now is his opponent's side deck is sheerly brilliant. Like he has, if you can see this, he has
like
the
pure NA pretty- I haven't looked at
Kaikos, the Cycle Reader, the DD Crows, the Max.
So he's got Crows, Maxis, Kaikus.
Everything anti-Infernity.
Debunk.
Like it's
wiretaps.
And keep in mind, he does not have to go first or second. You know, like it just.
He can play going second against the Infernity combo with this deck. I'm very confident in that.
He doesn't have to go first if he doesn't want to, and then if he doesn't want to go
This
second,
could
he just.
very easily become a triumph for Japanese innovation.
Yeah,
Very easily.
you have to give full credit to this player for coming into this event, because this is way off in left field.
No, Hiyama is playing a different tournament than everyone else playing that deck.
We have a Canada versus Japan final for the World Championship. So we're not going to see either of the repeat champions this year or a US champion, but Canada, it's close enough. And I apologize for our earlier comments about that. Clearly, we were jumping the gun a little bit there. Well, me.
By we, he means him.
Entirely me, but I don't really want to admit that.
It's all right.
Thank you.
You have Canada's seal of approval, courtesy of me.
Sure, I'm going to get stopped next time I fly over and
You're
to the
British.
US. I'll be like, oh, you're that guy.
We're part of the Empire.
You really?
You are.
We share the same queen.
Oh, fantastic. Is she on your money as well?
Yeah, she's all over it. Just
Wow.
like 50 pictures of the queen.
It's like a collage.
Yeah. It's like a children's art book.
I really love that tie, man. It's.
Oh, thank you. It's awesome. They were teasing me, saying they were going to green screen my boss's face on it, as there is an alarmingly large number of people watching the stream that could have me fired. So it was a bit of a risque choice coming on with the with it, but it's lucky.
You speak as if that threat has passed. We're still here for an additional round.
Yes, we got one final round for the all age bracket and for the Dragon Duel, although unfortunately I don't have the information of what the final matchup is, but you will be able to find that probably on the coverage site, the written coverage, which you can head on over to and check out and see all the